Welcome, Lawn Care Nation, and thanks for tuning in to another episode. I just wanted to remind you guys that if you do find value in the content that I provide and you want to show your appreciation and in turn support the show, that an easy and simple way to do this, especially with the holiday shopping season upon us, is to use my Amazon affiliate link. You can find the link in the podcast show notes or simply type in lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/Amazon into your browser. By doing this each time before you do your Amazon shopping, this allows me to earn a small commission on all your purchases, which I can then in turn turn around and reinvest into making great content. Thanks again for listening to the podcast, and let's get on with the show. You're listening to the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, the weekly show sharing proven methods and systems in marketing, equipment, and customer service, educational and motivational, to help make your lawn care business an overwhelming success. Now here's your host, Julio Tomei. Welcome, Lawn Care Nation, to another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Julio Tomei, and this is episode number 128, entitled Making the Most of Your Winter Off-Season. Well, hello, everybody, and thanks again for joining me this week on another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I really appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week, and of course, the questions, comments, and feedback that have been coming through. For those of you who haven't left a review on iTunes, if you would like to, if you take value from these episodes each and every week, I'd really appreciate you taking a moment to leave a review. You can head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/reviews, and there'll be a link there to leave an iTunes review. And like I say, I really do appreciate it. I know the time that it takes for you to do that. So, like I said, I really do appreciate that effort. So, this week I thought it would be, pertinent to talk about what to do, making the most of your downtime during your winter off season. Now, this applies, of course, to, those of us here who are, going into a typical winter off season where maybe the mowing is for the most part ending. Of course, if you're living on the opposite end of the world, in Australia, New Zealand, and those areas, your winter is, actually your November, December, things are ramping up for you, and you're just getting into that mowing, heavy mowing season for you. But for the rest of us here, this is the time of year where it's sort of a little bit depressing if you're a lawn care professional, because most of your lawns are starting to dry out as far as the growth goes. Temperatures are dropping. You start to get stormier weather. Cold and frost and even snow for many parts. And this means obviously the end of mowing for the season and a, possible 3-4 months of potentially no income and no work. So what can you do to make the most of that time? And for me, it's not so much about, there being an end of work, because there's always something that can be done. You can always be working on the back end of your business, making sure that, if you have a website, that all of that is up to date, that it's all working, that all the links are still connected and working. A lot of technology, like Google, Google Places, Google My Business, all that sort of stuff. Throughout the year, they may add new features and things that you may have not taken advantage of because of your busy work time when you're going through the spring and summer like gangbusters, getting and doing as much work as you can. You may not even visit those listings that you have out there on the internet for all those sorts of things. For all of that added SEO for your website, all those external links and stuff. And the winter is a great time to, during that slow season, to go into that sort of stuff, to, go through all of your social media, all of your websites, all of your the places on the internet that you have your business listed, whether it's just to Google My Places, or Hot Frog. Some of you guys may use Angie's List, all sorts of different services and stuff that you can list your business on, and you just want to make sure that that you're utilizing all of those forms to their potential. Now, what I mean by this is, they may have added, when you originally signed up for some of those services or listed your business on some of those services, it may have been as simple as just your business name and phone number. And throughout the year, those services may have added features of having maybe photo galleries, or, an area to add a video or something like that you may have not utilized because you're just, you haven't even visited those pages throughout the work season. So this is a great opportunity to do that. Of course, updating the content on your website. This is what I will typically do in the winter as well. For the most part, throughout the season, my website, my company website, will stay pretty stagnant. I will update it from time to time with bits of information, but nothing too heavy. Certainly not any, services pages or anything like that. Typically, I'm just too, overwhelmed with work and other, commitments and priorities to be doing anything like that. So typically, the winter, I will either go in and just add more, to my services page, always updating the website, completing other parts of the website, and just making sure, like I said, that all the links are working and all that. Typically, too, in the winter, if I've ever done a refresh of my website, it's always been in the winter when I've got, a lot more time on my hands. I'll go in there and completely redesign the whole website. So these are the sorts of things you want to do, but you can also utilize that time for training and to better yourself, to give yourself an edge on the competition and to get ready for the next year. Now, if you guys, follow my channel, you know that I'm a strong sort of advocate for that, for always, constantly learning, for constantly watching like YouTube videos and listening to podcasts and audiobooks and things like that, to always constantly give yourself an edge, to constantly always be learning. But, I'm not the only one who obviously believes in that. Just this week, I was actually on YouTube, watching some videos, and, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with B&B Lawn Care, Blake Albertson. So I was watching one of his videos, and he was talking about it being, the end of the season, wrapping up sort of the lawn mowing season. I think he made actually this announcement on Instagram, and talking about how he was going to be traveling, I think, to California, and he wanted to learn how to build ponds. And, that it sort of seemed interesting to him. And, he could maybe see himself doing that, as well, and adding that service, to his business. But, that's a prime example of somebody, taking, advantage of the winter downtime. And that's almost an extreme example, only in the sense that, he, literally just finished, mowing his last lawn, of the season. And, it's almost as if his lawnmower, hadn't even cooled down yet. And he was already, taken off, to go, get some education on some other, things. And that, not wasting any time of this down, season, and just getting into that higher learning and bettering himself. I talked about in one episode about studying horticulture, and that's a great thing to do in the down season as well, is to hit the books. Also maybe take a community college course or something like that. That's what I ended up doing, was taking a course for horticulture. And it was actually called a residential landscape technician course. So it basically covered, everything that a lawn care or small landscaping company, would basically typically need to learn, just to get a brief overview, for your landscaping business. Now, this wasn't, a super hardcore course. It wasn't something that was needed as far as government regulations or anything like that. It was just something that was offered to me through the franchise when I was working or owning that franchise lawn care company, where they typically said, if you want to do this, it's 2 parts, basically like 2 semesters type thing. If you complete the course and you pass at the end, then they would pay for half of it. And I think each semester of this course was about $450, so $900 total. I decided to do that. Went through the whole thing. I think it was about 6 months total. 3 months for the first term or semester, and 3 months for that second semester. And ended up finishing that off and passing. And I learned a lot of valuable knowledge that has over the years come in super handy, especially in terms of confidence when you're talking to a client. It's a lot, we're all familiar with talking to somebody who is trying to lead you on, somebody who is, pretending to know what they're talking about, and they're kind of just fluffing their way through it. And it can be really difficult when you're talking to a customer who's, talking to you about certain plants, or asking you, does this have a disease? Does this thing, what type of plant is this? And what type of plant is that? When's the best time to prune this? And all that sort of stuff, asking you questions like that. And if you don't have any idea, it can become very transparent that you are inexperienced, and you might start to get nervous and be talking not as fluidly as you normally would. It's does a disservice to you and your business, because you can sell yourself short, regardless of how good the quality of work you do. And that's what I found the biggest benefit from doing a landscape technician course like that. Now, it doesn't have to be a complete landscape technician course. I was lucky enough that that course was offered at a nearby college, and that it was convenient and sort of set up for those working in the field or starting to work in the field. It was all like night classes around sort of, daylight work hour schedules, so that people could still be, if they were working, as an employee of a company or something, that you could continue to do that without having to give up your income or anything like that to take this course. So I would highly suggest that you guys, if you're interested in doing something like that, it's also a great way to network with other people in your market, the type of your niche, the type of work that you're particularly doing, just to build those relationships with those other companies in your city, in your area, that do lawn care, landscaping. You may find connections. I know when I was taking that course, there was a lot of employees from nearby nurseries that were going through that course as part of their training for the job, because there was a lot of plant identification throughout that particular course that I took. And just a lot of overall, plant care, turf care, just general, basically just general information. Nothing was too, drilled down too deep. It wasn't too technical. It was very easy to comprehend, very easy. And like I say, just general knowledge that is just perfect for being able to communicate clearly to clients and be able to sell yourself as a professional when you're walking on a property and you're talking about a particular type of plant, and, some of the characteristics of that plant, and you may mention something about, that particular plant that the homeowner may notice or may have, caught on. For example, say hydrangeas. You may be talking to a client about hydrangeas and the color and how the acidity of the soil will change sort of determine the color of the hydrangea. And they may have picked up on how, their friend a few blocks away has maybe blue hydrangeas, but theirs are always pink. And maybe they transplanted some of their friends' blue ones over, thinking that, they'd be able to grow some blue ones and that they would look good with the pink ones. But, once those were transplanted, the flowers came out and they were pink as well. Having those little bits of knowledge that, while you're talking to a client can really, like I say, help sell your services. And it really does build your confidence when you're when you really do know what you're talking about, when you're on a property discussing plants, discussing when the best time to prune things are. If a client is asking you about sort of plant identification and you're able to, just rattle them off easily off the top of your head, because, for the most part, you may think that it'd be overwhelming to learn the names of, so many different plants. But I find generally, at least in my area, that because of obviously the region that I'm in, the climate that I'm in, most of the plants that are used in landscaping in my geographical area are pretty much the same. Everybody's got the same types of cedar hedging. Everybody's got some common plants like rhododendrons and, those hydrangeas. It's a lot of the same stuff. Japanese maples. It's just repeated over and over and over again on everybody's particular property, because those are the plants and plant species that do well in my geographical area. So you don't have to worry about learning everything about every type of plant. I wouldn't know half of anything about anything to do with tropical plants, because it's not what we have here. So I don't need to, waste too much time dealing with that. There are a few different palm trees that people bring over, and a couple of, banana plants and things like that. But that's about the extent of, tropical plants that will do well here. And even those require some extra care throughout the winter months to be able to survive. So it's not as overwhelming as it may sound. For some of you guys, I'm not the biggest gardener out there. It's for me, learning the plant names and all that sort of stuff isn't, completely honest, it's not my cup of tea. But having that knowledge, I have seen the benefit firsthand. So that's definitely something that I would absolutely recommend. Now, if you can't, of course, afford or you can't find, a community college or classes or something in your area, then, the library is free. And just requires some time. And I'm sure every library out there is going to have a gardening section and, a lot of available books on different plant species and plant identification. I'm sure there's probably even local guide books in the library. That would have those plant species. I live in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and I'm pretty sure that if I searched for plant species of British Columbia, there'd probably be a book with that almost, if not exact title on it, with all of the common plants in British Columbia. So I would do things like that, search out things like that. And try to better yourself and increase your knowledge that way. So I am just going to break for the podcast announcements, and then we'll get back right into it right after this. So stay tuned. Hey guys, if you have any questions or comments about the show, I'd love to hear from you. You can head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/contact. And while you're there, why not join my mailing list and get access to a free PDF document of a landscape maintenance contract you can feel free to copy and use in your own business. For you Instagram users out there, be sure to follow me at Lawn Care Business Success. And if you haven't checked out my videos yet, well, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe to the Lawn Care Business Success YouTube channel. Now, I know you guys love listening to audio while you work as much as I do, so I've partnered up with Audible to offer you guys a free 30-day trial and 2 free audiobooks of your choice. There's no long-term commitments, and you can cancel anytime. And get this, even if you cancel during your free trial period, you still get to keep the 2 free audiobooks. It's a great way to try the service and to see if Audible is right for you. So why not give it a try? Head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/audible. Now back to the show. Okay, so before the break, I was talking about, going to, community colleges and learning some courses on horticulture, maybe some other skills. On top of that as well, there's obviously, business courses that you could take as well, management courses, all sorts of things. You just got to sort of, look for your weaknesses. Everybody's going to be different, and figure out what it is that you want to learn. What is it that you want to do that you think could, better your business, that could put more dollars in your pocket at the end of each year. Another great resource, of course, is YouTube. Probably, one of my, I would say it's absolutely, my favorite resource for learning as of now. You can pretty much learn anything you want on YouTube. I've talked, many times on this podcast about doing things like timing belts on my cars and things like that, and saving myself hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in maintenance throughout the years, just by searching YouTube and, finding, in most cases, exact videos on, exactly what it is that I'm trying to either fix, repair, or maintain. So YouTube is, again, of course, a fantastic resource, but there's so many others as well, besides YouTube, that may not get as much, popularity. So another one that comes to the top of my mind that I have used before as well is iTunes University. Now, this is something that is if you're an iPhone user or an iOS user or a Mac user, that you can access through the iTunes store. And basically it's, if you're not familiar with it, is just, a whole bunch of courses that are, the actual, college or university courses. So you can go into this iTunes University, and it may have, say a particular course that you're looking for that's maybe offered at Harvard University, and it may be listed here in iTunes University, and you can actually sit in and listen to all of the actual lectures and classes and course material that is what makes up that course, and go through the course the same as somebody who's sitting in that classroom doing it. Now, of course, if you go through the whole course and you finish, there's no exam for you to write, and there's no course credit that you get. But that knowledge, of course, is there for the taking. And it's amazing how much stuff is offered all the way from kindergarten, all through the high school, or secondary school grades, and, universities and colleges. And like I said, a lot of, high-end, classes in universities like Harvard, for example. I have seen courses in there from Harvard University and stuff. So another, maybe not so popular, resource that isn't talked about a lot, but it's one that I have used in the past and there's courses in there for everything. And the other thing about it is that it's absolutely 100% free to do. It's just a resource that Apple provides on their iTunes store, that any of their users can log in and look for this content to consume and to better yourself. But those would probably be my top choices. There's of course if you're following YouTubers and stuff that or other content providers that they may have courses available as well. I know past guests of my podcast, Keith Kalfas, I know he has some books available on Amazon that you can buy, I think about starting a landscaping business with no money, and sort of documents his journey and how he did it. Of course, Caleb Auman from Auman Landscape has the DVD set on how to build a patio paver, or a pave stone patio, and I think it's a 2 DVD set that sells for $99, and that one is just jam-packed, full of valuable content, and a perfect time, of year to take advantage of those things is to, during that winter off season, to be able to, watch a DVD set like that, see if it's something that you'd be interested in doing, and adding to your business. That patio paver one is, the more I think of it, is a perfect example of something that you guys should be, if it at all interests you, if it at all gives you that sort of inkling to increase your skills, to think about other services that you can add to your lawn care business in the future to increase your revenue. Maybe you're feeling the lawn care. I know a lot of guys go through starting out in lawn care and then wanting to expand into those hardscaping type jobs, the higher income type work, where it's less about the competition, and it's more higher profit type jobs. This is a perfect way to get your feet wet and to learn from somebody who has years of experience doing it and will walk you through a project from beginning to end, showing you exactly what you need to do, what tools are required, and basically the entire process. And for $99, you get that person's years and years of experience of them learning, on their own and making all those mistakes, and basically saving you from having to make those same mistakes, and give you a huge jump start into doing something like that. So that is a great resource that I would absolutely recommend for you guys to increase your knowledge over the winter season. Would be looking at Caleb Auman's DVD set for how to build a paved stone patio. I'll leave a link in the description for both of those, for Keith Kalfas's books on Amazon, and for Caleb's DVD box set, if you guys are interested in anything like that. Just something for you guys to think about there. But like I said, there's so many other resources, of course, for free, if those aren't things that you can utilize, besides the YouTube, and the library, of course, is a big one, like I said before. So just some ideas there for you guys to get those juices flowing, to think about, what direction do I want to go in next season? You can sit back and think about what it is that worked for you this season, what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy, what you want to focus on next year. It's a great time to update all of those sales materials, to explore other opportunities, as far as, maybe promotional materials, maybe different suppliers for different materials. Of course, researching equipment, and upgrading equipment, and thinking about, the possibilities there of what would work for you moving forward next year. What is it that you can be more efficient on? Also, root density, thinking about that. That's a huge one for you guys. If you listen to me and follow my podcast, you'll know that over the years, that has been my number one strategy in my business, is to completely densify my route, work in a smaller and smaller area, and minimize as much drive time as possible, and increase those profits. The less time that you're out in traffic, the better, and you put more dollars in your pocket, more profit in your pocket. So that's another one to think about in the winter. Is there reworking those routes? Is there better ways to go about those routes? Now, of course, this isn't something that might be set in stone, because come springtime, some of those clients may not be returning, and you'll of course be adding new clients, but it's always something to think about. Is there an area that you worked in, that you had clients in, that were more profitable than other areas? Do you want to maybe focus in on those areas instead for next season? Does that require more marketing material for that area? Is there anything that you should be doing now to already start to get, a leg up on the competition as far as marketing in that area? Another one, typically, of course, is doing your bids for commercial properties. Typically, you're going to start doing those now as well in the off season, getting all that ready, doing your research now, and trying to make those connections as well. If you're trying to pick up some new properties, a lot of those places will, of course, be signing contracts for the next season already. So you want to get in and get started on that, and doing your due diligence and research on what it takes. And now, of course, if you're doing and are fortunate enough to keep working throughout the winter, and you're doing snow removal and maybe other cleanups and other jobs that we've talked about in the past, that is fantastic. But the work never ends. Even if you're not having to go out and actually do some physical work, there's always work in the office that can be done, whether it's on you, and increasing your knowledge and increasing your learning and your skills, or for the business, and just, making sure those websites and everything, like I say, are updated, all your social media is updated, maybe putting together, footage and stuff for your business to make some YouTube videos for promotional purposes, for your social media and stuff. Throughout the season, it can become so hectic working that a lot of time, I know, I got myself that action camera, the little GoPro clone this year, and was using that a lot, but I had no time to edit that footage, and I ended up having to go out and get a second memory card. I think the first one was 32 gig. I filled that one up and ended up having to go get another one, and ended up picking up a 64 gig of memory card and putting it in and recording on that one. And so I've got a lot of gigs of video footage that I can use to put together now in the off season, whether it's videos for this lawn care business success YouTube channel, or putting together sort of commercial footage for promos and stuff for my actual lawn care business, and maybe making a whole bunch of different versions of that, some for YouTube, some to use on Facebook and on Instagram and all that sort of stuff, and just having that so that when the season hits, you have those ready to go, and you don't have to worry about editing them and putting them together and all that stuff when you're working, those long days and long hours. You'll have that, now all put together and then ready to go for next season with all of the footage from this past season. So it's very current. It's relevant because it's, not from 10 years ago, but it's from you from last season, doing those sort of things. So anything that you wanted to do, you might want to have video walkthroughs on your website and all that sort of stuff. The possibilities are endless, and there's so much that you could be doing, utilizing the time that you have off rather than just sitting around doing nothing. Of course, the downtime is nice to let your body recover and recoup from the labor intensive work that we have to do throughout the season. But that doesn't mean that sitting at the desk and doing say video editing or website editing and all that sort of stuff can't be done at the same time while your body is resting, and just squeezing every minute that you can, and utilizing that time to get that step forward and that leg ahead on the competition. So I think that's it for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode, got some value, made you guys think about planning ahead here as the season comes to an end, and you'll have a bunch more free time available. Hopefully your winter funds are all ready and set for this winter, and you have no financial worries for the months ahead. So that's it for this week. Here's to wishing you guys all overwhelming success and freedom in your lawn care business. Bye for now.